today is augments. So we're going to be talking about optimizing augments and the process going through that. So this is pretty important because every game you're going to be presented with 3 different sets of augments, and you need to know how to pick the right one for your board. So without further ado, get into it. We're going to do a quick intro, then actually get into how to optimize your augments, and then we're going to be looking at specific really popular augments that are either misplayed, so people are not playing them correctly or using them correctly, or they're too scared and don't know how to play it. So we'll be going into specific augments and at the very end. Okay, so introduction to augment optimization. So what is optimizing? Basically, it's when you have a lot of options and you choose the best one possible in your power, and this will result in having the highest chance of success. So that's why it's important. Highest chance of success gives you the most favorable chance to win. You want to be winning all your games. If it's not first, then at least like top 4ing. So optimizing super important. And what it basically does is it takes into account everything that you have and maximizes the strength and efficiency and effectiveness of your units, items, everything on your board to help you win rounds. So that's what optimizing is. Pretty important. So how do we do it? Basically, when you're choosing your augments, each augment, this part is really important, they want to be able to provide some sort of unique value to your board. And as you might have guessed, unique, so that means that you don't want to have any doubling up or overlap of effect from augments. So I'll go to the third point here. So basically what I mean by that is you don't want like to have like 2 healing augments or like 2 healer reduction augments or like 2 economic augments. Every augment should have some form of unique value to your team. So the first point is you want to have only 1 economic augments, and economic is not only money, it can also mean health as well. So examples of these could be like Titans, metabolic accelerator. Economic counts as both gold and health as a resource. So you only want to have 1 of these, preferably on 2-1. And then your third and fourth want to be, your second and third augments wants to be combat augments. The reason behind this is, as you might have guessed, if you choose 2 economic augments and you only have 1 combat augment, that means that your board is 1 combat augment weaker than everybody else that has 2 combat augments. So try to stick it to 1 and then 2 in terms of economic and then combat augments. The last one is when you're optimizing, so you want to be able to choose a hero augment that either already caters to your board or can be easily played around. So what I mean by this is, let's say you have your board and then either 3-2 or 4-2 combat augment or hero augment comes up. This is because 2-1 hero augments will always be random, so you can't cater your board to that. Then you want to pick something that is applicable to your board and helps it from there. Okay. I want to go over a quick checklist. So these are basically factors that you want to keep in the back of your head or even like written down or pulled up on your screen. These are factors that you want to have available in your board for each game, as this will increase your board strength. So the first one is you want to have some form of healing for your team and shred and sunder. So this is for armor and magic, I think it's actually magic resistant than armor, but same thing. You want to have some form of shred or sunder to help increase the damage of your board and actually be able to kill units. So that's the first one. Second one, you want to have some form of healing reduction and debuff. So this is CC. So have some form of healing reduction, so like Sunfire Cape, Sunfire Board, Aurelian Soul, and then some form of CC. The last one is you need to have some form of damage from your team and frontline to stall for your damage. So those are the 3 factors or like checklists that you want to have. And if you have all of these, then technically, like statistically, your board will be really good. However, sometimes you can't have all of these just from item drops or units, or I don't know, there's luck, right? Sometimes you get unlucky, you can't have all of them in one game, but that's okay. But generally you want to have 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 checklist lists, or I guess topics, that you want to have available on your board for each game in order to have a strong board. So with this checklist in mind, we're going to be going over augment selection. So a really quick 3-step process. Number 1, analyze your current state. So just look at what you have. Basically your augment screen is going to come up. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, right? And then this button allows you to go back to your board, take a quick look at 1, 2, 3, check your board. Okay, and go back to the augments, look at 1, 2, 3. So you just need to analyze your current state, see what items you have, see what units you have, and so that's step 1. Very easy. Number 2, review the checklist. or as you don't have to have like this specific, but this is like the general checklist that you want to have like for each game. So review this. They take a look. Oh, what do I have already, or what do I need to have? So for example, let's say the easiest one is like healing reduction, right? This is on your checklist, and then you review it, and then you're like, oh, I already have Sunfire Cape. The Sunfire board is automatically off. Like, I don't need Sunfire board because you don't need to double up. It's like wearing 2 hats or having 2 umbrellas when it's raining outside. So that's the second one, review your checklist. And then the third one is you just pick your most optimal augments or reroll choices and repeat the process. So 1 to 3, analyze, review, and then pick. Okay, step 1, analyze. As I said, you basically just take a look at what you have and then look at what would actually benefit your board. Because technically, no matter what augment you pick, it will have some form of value onto your board, but you want to pick the one that gives you the most value, hence optimization. So this is from looking at your augments, items, units, anything that will affect like the contribution to your board. An example of this, as I said, double healing reduction, right? There's no point of this. So if you have Sunfire Cape or you're playing Aurelion Soul Carry, Sunfire board is automatically out. And a second example is if you're looking at, if you're presented some sort of late game augment really early, then that's not good. So let's take an example of your first augment on 2-1. You get Celestial Blessing, Axiom Arc, and Cybernetic Anything. These are all late game augments, and if you pick them very early, they won't have that much value. So let's see, I think I have a question here. Let me just pull it up, open chat. Yes, sorry, no 2 econ augments, although it is fun and you get to level 9. The combat power of your board is just not up to par compared to other boards. Cybernetic Shell, so Cybernetic Shell, I'd say, is one of the exceptions because early game, there's a lot of physical damage, right? There's no burst yet from abilities or one-shots. A lot of it is just DPS auto-attacking, so the armor is very beneficial. However, I'm talking about more like Cybernetic Implant or Cybernetic, oh, I forgot the other one, Uplink, where you need to like spread your items, and they're just going to be components at this point. So early game, you want to formulate like completed items to like really boost it, and you don't want to be like spreading out everything. You can't afford that yet. So you are right. Shell is an exception, and that is not bad for early game. Yep, basically. So Shell not bad, Implant's not great, Uplink not great. And then Celestial Blessing, this is giving your healing based off of the damage that you're doing, but early game you're not doing that much damage. So I think the Celestial Blessing 1 is like 10%, right? So 10% of already a very small number is an even smaller number. So Celestial Blessing early is not good. And then Axiom Arc, you're fighting like 3 units. You're fighting 4 units on stage 2. You're not going to be proccing this very often, and it's not great. Thrill, on the other hand, is basically like, you can think of it as like 1 extra unit on your board, right? Because when you kill something early game, everyone has like every unit has very like little HP. You heal full straight back up, and you're able to go from there. Yeah, exactly. It's almost a full heal. So Thrill is fine. But this last point here is basically don't take late game augments too early. So this is analyzing your current state. A couple other ones is like taking build different past 2-1. By the time, so this means it would be on 3-2 or 4-2. At that point, you should already have some form of board. Tiny Titans, if you're win streaking 100 HP. If you're win streaking 100 HP, take a combat augment, keep pushing that and getting your win streak money. And last but not least, Ascension if you're playing some type of fast-paced board, because you need 15 seconds for this. So if you're playing some fast-paced board like Duelist or Hacker, where you want to end the fight as soon as possible, then it does not make any sense. So this is all what you should be thinking about for step 1, analyzing your current state. Step 2. So now that you've taken a look at what you have, at the checklist in the corner here, you review the checklist. So take a look at what you have and then what you still require. So I've mentioned this multiple times, healing reduction. If you don't have anything yet, then Sunfire board is applicable. If you have damage, but you lack frontline, then you want to take some sort of frontline or like stalls, like makeshift armor, portable forge, exiles. And then if you have no healing, then obviously you take a healing augment. So this is pretty simple. I think everyone does this subconsciously, but seeing it written out in front of you, then that makes you like start thinking some more and being like, oh yeah, I do that, and it's a pretty good way to go about it. Okay, Thrill versus Celestial Blessing. We have a couple of people in the voice channel here. Does anyone have any idea of when you would take Thrill the Hunt versus Celestial Blessing? They're both healing augments, So what's the diff?
Is thrill more for squishies? Like if you're doing duelist and you want to kill very fast and reset your heal?
Okay, so reset. That's really good. So like killing fast and against squishy units. So when do you think Celestial Blessing would be better?
Fights.
Sorry, did you say team fights or long fights?
Like long fights.
Yeah,
Like
long
if you have
fights.
like Ascension or something.
Yeah, exactly. So any sort of like scaling. So the way I've simplified it is thrill is any type of burst or multi-targeting. Any units that have either burst or multi-targeting will be able to proc thrill very easily, and while Celestial Blessing is more for like DPS or like single target damage, where you're not multi-targeting and being able to proc very easily. Instead, you're just doing a lot of damage just for one person. So when I think of Celestial Blessing, I think of units like Kaisa. While when I was thinking of Thrill, I'm thinking of more units like Ezreal, like the ultimate Ezreal, or like Samira. So some type of Misfortune too. So any multi-targeting being able to proc it very easily is when Thrill is really good. I see Tiny Titans 2-1 fully open board. Tiny Titans on 2-1 is great. I guess, yeah, yes, I agree. Tiny Titans 2-1 is good.
I've done that before, man. I just full sell my board and just lose until.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, so step 2 is taking a look at your checklist. The very last one is now you select your most optimal augment after taking everything into account. If nothing is helpful, right, then you reroll your choices and you repeat it again. So you have to be pretty fast. I think for augments, it's now maybe, I think, either 48 or like 50 seconds that you have a chance. And you have for at least for hero augments, you have 4, I guess, choices or 4 rerolls to go through maximum. So you have to be thinking pretty fast, but once you get into the hang of things, you are good to go. An example of when you would reroll is these are all late game augments, right? So once again, taking late game augments early, none of these benefit you early at all. So you would reroll here and then go for something else like a second wind or some sort of augment catered towards your board. So number 1, analyze what you have. Number 2, take a look at the checklist, see what you already have and see what you might need. Number 3, choose or reroll. Okay, very last ones before we keep going. Unless you have some sort of like really specific composition that is directed to you, keep your augments pretty general, pretty flexible. So like second wind, everyone can use. Sunfire board is also really general. Things that are more specific are like implants, where you are forced to play attack damage. Some sort of positioning augment, so like Battle Mage or Knives Edge, you are forced to play some sort of like melee frontline composition. So until you have some sort of really specific direction, keep it general. And then last but not least, as I said, you have 3 potential augments you can or 3 augment choices. Your first one can be economic, that's no problem, but your second and third should really be combat augments, or else you are going to be having a really hard time winning rounds later into the game. As fun as 2 combat augments sound, and as fun as they are, you are able to get to level 9 really easily. It is unfortunately more tough to win rounds because you're playing down 1. Okay, so that is basically how to optimize augments. You have your 3-step process: analyze, check your checklist, and then choose or reroll. Now we're going to get into more specific augments and how to play them. So first one, Ancient Archives, Toma Traits. This is, in my opinion, one of the most complicated ones, just because it's been changed so many times. So as soon as you pick it, looks like this. Also gives you a little bit of gold, depending on if it's the gold version or the prismatic, which gives you 2. Once you pick it, it gives you a tome. This will be on your board, or on your bench, sorry. And when you sell this, it'll activate and present you 4 emblems that you can choose from. And these are all equipable emblems that you can equip. This is the 4 emblem choices that will show up. These are all traits based off of your board from your previous round. So if we look over on the right here, you have your options. So 0 to 5 traits will be all random emblems. 6 or 7 will grant you 1 tailored emblem out of the 6 or 7, and then 3 random, and then it keeps going up. So if you have 8 or 9 traits, then when you pop it, the round after, 2 of the emblems will be part of this 8 or 9, and then 2 will be random. And then if you have 12 plus traits, all of the potential options will be included from this 12 traits possible. And this includes both active and inactive traits. So it doesn't have to be all 12 active traits. It could be inactive as well. But the key thing to know about this is from the previous round. So this means that if you just take it right away and you pop it, it'll be from any traits that were active or inactive from the last round. So most of the time, what you do is you pick Toma traits and then you make your board. Oh, this will go into the next slide here actually. You make your board and then to what you want, and then you pop it. So for example, let's take 8 traits, right? So there's 8 here. That means 2 of these will be tailored and 2 of them will be random, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You'll get 2 of these to be able to equip. Now, so what this means is equipped is the major word here. You want to be playing units that give traits that are not equipable. So a really good unit play early, if you're playing Toma traits, is the normal Ezreal, so not the ultimate one. This is because it gives you parallel and quick draw. So let's say like these two are like parallel and quick draw. These are unequipable emblems or unequipable traits, which means that although you are presenting like quote unquote 8 traits, only 6 of them are actually available. And then threats, if you play any threat, also counts as 1, but it's not equipable. So technically you're playing 5 traits, but only 5 of them are options to show up. Let's say like this is something else, right? Only 5 of them will show up, and then 2 out of that 5 will be presented. So this is basically like minimizing the variance. So playing Ezreal on your board to cater your traits is super important. Or yeah, it is super important. And then last one, underground. Underground is good, so it gives you a desirable active trait as well. So that's how you play Ancient Archives. It's been buffed. You get gold now, so it's actually pretty good. And getting Star Guardian emblem I've seen is really good. So that's the first one. Second one is Clear Mind. A lot of the times what happens is people play Clear Mind. They play their strongest board, and they do level up pretty well. However, their board strength is not that good, and they actually lose a lot of HP. So first off, what is Clear Mind? Basically, at the end of each round, you gain 3 experience points if there are no units on your bench. So you might be thinking, it's like, oh, this is so good, like clear board, clear mind. I don't have to think about anything. I just make sure that my board is clear. Yes, that is true. But this makes 2-starring units really tough. So what can you do? On your board, instead of playing your strongest board, you can play pairs on your board to try to 2-star them easier, or to hold them. So for example, this is like early game, right? If you're playing Laser Core, it is better to play a Brawler over a second Renekton, but you want to play pairs with Clear Mind, and then hopefully you can hit Renekton 2 and make your strong board from there. Last one is your goal with Clear Mind is to level up really faster than everybody else, and then get higher cost units either on level 7, 8, or 9. So this is an economic augment as well. I see Cluttered Mind feels 10 times better for me to play than Clear Mind. Well, you are right. I too prefer Cluttered Mind, which is the opposite of Clear Mind. If your bench is full at the end of the round, you gain 3 experience points. It also gives you 4 starting 1-cost units as soon as you pick this up to help you clutter your bench. Basically, it's the opposite. This is also an economic augment, but now it gives you the capability of holding every pair in the world and make sure that you keep a full bench. Make sure you keep a full bench instead of making economy or making interest, because you are essentially getting a free +3 gold into leveling each round. While if you not make a full bench and you sell for your +1 or your extra +2 from interest, it is not as worth. So keep a full bench. It is good. And Clever Mind, in my opinion, is better than Clear Mind just because you're able to hold every pair. Okay, the next one is Hustler. One of my favorite ones. It allows me to play very aggressively, ignores all rules of economy, so don't worry about interest or anything. Aggressively push those levels. On 2-5 or 2-6, you go level 6. On 3-2, you go level 7. You push, push, push. There's no point in making 10, no point in making 20. So this means that you could pre-level with no consequence, not only for level 4. You could pre-level for level 6, pre-level for level 7. And this is the one case where donkey rolling is actually permitted. Donkey rolling is just rolling down to 0 each round, not taking into consideration any laws of economy. And it is fine because you gain 3 gold every round except for PvE. Okay, the very last one I'll talk about is Jeweled Lotus. So this is really good augments. It basically gives your entire board, every unit on your board, a budget Infinity Edge and Jeweled Gauntlet. What I mean by this is it allows everyone to crit with their abilities. They also each gain 20% extra of critical strike chance. Budget is You don't get the extra plus 10 AD or extra 10 AP from the actual Infinity Edge or Jewel Gauntlet item, but it's still good. So what this means is now that everyone is able to crit and they have an extra 20% chance to crit, you want to pair it with other crit items as they have increased value. So Hand of Justice, Guardbreaker, Last Whisper, Thieves Gloves, these all have crit built into the item. So crit plus more crit equals more damage. So that's this one here. And if you have Jewel Lotus, then you do not want to build Infinity Edge or Jewel Gauntlet. I have a question here. I think Jewel Lotus is also overall less crit. Do you mean compared to just having the Infinity Edge or the Jewel Gauntlet? Or it's actually, I think INJG is like 35%. I'm not 100% sure on the numbers. I think it might also be 20. I'll have to get back to you, but it's actually higher because let's say you do, let's say it is, I'm not sure, like we'll go in the middle, maybe like 25, right? Gives you 25. And then, yeah, exactly. You have that one extra free item slot, so you do get more overall crit. There you go. But yeah, so this Jewel Lotus, a lot of very common combination if you're playing AD is to go Jewel Lotus plus Last Whisper plus Hodge, or I have these over here. So Last Whisper into like Hodge and Guardbreaker, and you're going to be doing plenty of damage. This is a really good combo. For AP, you normally get your Jewel Lotus, that's like your quote-unquote Jewel Gauntlet, into your Guardbreaker, and then like a Shojin or something like that. And then any unit that can use Thieves Gloves very well with Jewel Lotus is really good, because I know for sure that Thieves Gloves gives 40% crit chance, plus the 20, plus the base. I think everyone has 25, so quick maths, 85% chance of crit. And then let's say they even roll a crit item off that, so it's really good. So just remember, this is the main thing you need to know. Jewel Lotus, as soon as you get it, you do not have to build Infinity Edge or Jewel Gauntlet anymore. Everyone gets this ability to crit, and other crit items have increased value. Jewel Gauntlet is 15% crit, plus 30% crit damage. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's it. Today's class, once again, concluding here, is picking the best augments out of all the choices that you have and how to play specific augments. So that has been everything for today. Thanks everyone for coming.